You guys have had that moment where you go into a video store and do a blind buy of whatever movie happens to catch your eye on the shelf, right? I've had that happen numerous times, and I don't know if it's just me, but I have happened to be very lucky in this regard, and I usually pick winners. And one of those winners was a 2016 animated film in this corner of the world. Based on the manga by Fumio Kono, it was written for the screen and directed by Sunao Katabuchi, who also made beautiful works like Princess Arete, The My Miracle, but he's probably best known for directing the absolutely hardcore, punch me right in the testes, kick-ass Black Lagoon.
It's the jitterbug, baby!
Pain in the ass? How many times have you destroyed my bar? Fire number 1! Fire number 2! Yeah! You got fucked!
Seriously, this is one of the few animes where I actually prefer the English dub. It is that good.
One of these days I like a job where I don't get shot.
Quit your bitchin', Dutch. We're doing all the dirty work here anyway.
What in the hell are you planning to do with this hostage now that you brought him with us, huh?
We're getting paid 20 grand for this job. Only 20 grand! What's wrong with collecting a bonus by asking for a ransom?
You're being too simple-minded.
You wanna die, Benny?
Not really.
Shit, didn't this place just reopen?
Dutch, I know what I want for Christmas.
I'll talk about Black Lagoon another time, but in the meantime, watch it for yourself. You won't regret it. Oh, and I'm gonna say this, Black Lagoon over Cowboy Bebop, hands down. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. Katabuchi's output is unique as a director, to say the least, but I love it. Given what he did with Princess Arete and My Miracle, he seemed to be the right guy for In This Corner of the World. Now, I will say that this video will contain some light spoilers, but don't worry, I won't spoil everything. The story is essentially a slice-of-life drama about Suzu Urano, and about how she matures as a person from childhood to adulthood. It takes place between 1938 and 1946, although the bulk of the story is from 1944 to 1946. We begin the story with Suzu living in Hiroshima with her family. Her mom, her dad, her sister Sumi, and her brother Yoichi, who she calls an ogre and portrays him as such in her drawings.
Hey, Mizuhara, can I give my brother to you?
No thanks. Everyone says, run when you see Urano's brother.
Speaking of her drawings, she's a quiet and passive person by nature who gets lost in thought a lot, and in the process, gets lost. And it is when she draws that we see her emotions come out and we see how she feels about certain things. So when she may lack the means of expression through words or actions, she makes up for it with a canvas, pencils, and even paint. Eventually, by 1944, she is arranged to marry Shusaku Hojo and live with his family in Kure, where there is a naval shipyard present. One of the reasons for the marriage is that the mother of the Hojo family has a bad leg and needs help around the place when the father and Shusaku are at work. Another reason is that Shusaku met her years ago and he always remembered her.
Have we ever actually met before today?
Yes, we have. You don't remember.
I'm usually a bit absent-minded.
You haven't changed at all. I also remember that little beauty mark of yours.
There are some tensions that do come about from this. For starters, Suzu's sister-in-law Keiko is somewhat resentful that she is there and on occasion will push her aside to do the housework herself, basically putting all her anger and frustrations from personal issues on Suzu.
I was expecting you to be one of those polished girls from Hiroshima. And what are those clothes you're wearing today anyway?
Mommy seems to be mad at everything lately, so I try to stay real quiet.
And for your information, that rice isn't a gift. It's only for me and Harumi.
Another source of tension is that Suzu is in a new place and getting accustomed to new circumstances is difficult. Although she puts on a smile and tries to be as amicable as possible, you can tell she struggles as we are privy to her inner thoughts and how she initially sees her husband as something of a stranger.
You seem a little on the sad side today. Are you feeling homesick or something?
No, I'm not.
But to her husband and her in-laws' credit, they don't push her too hard, or at least try not to, and they seem to give her the space and time she needs to adjust, and it's not like there's never any intimacy between her and Shusaku.
Good. We should get going.
Father.
Now that you're married, it's nice to see that you two get along so well.
She even makes friends in Keiko's daughter Harumi, who is more than eager to share information about ships she learned from her older brother, and a pleasure house worker named Rin. More on her later. The drama of Suzu and her family by marriage and by blood also help highlight a fascinating aspect of the film, that is, showing the lives of civilians in wartime Japan. As the war rages on, the things that people enjoyed, such as various foods and conveniences like train rides, become more and more scarce as they are becoming prioritized for the military. On top of that, they are taught to be prepared for air raids and other possible attacks. Some buildings around them have to be taken down, either completely or partially, for fuel, including homes.
I have plenty of firewood. I don't know if you heard or not, but my house was taken away from me.
With food becoming rationed more and more heavily, Suzu and others have to get more and more creative with making meals for their families, with some successes and some not so successful. As attacks from allied forces become more and more frequent, and being under a constant state of alert, it really begins to wear on everyone. Family members die or get drafted later on in the war, homes get destroyed, and there are even problems with getting the most basic supplies that people need to survive. All of these issues, combined with the stress of adjusting to a new life, begin to wear on Suzu.
They're here! They're here! Protect your eyes!
Hear you. I can't hear a thing. I'm going home to Hiroshima.
But of course, on August 6, 1945, the atomic bomb gets dropped on Hiroshima, with Japan's surrender just a few days later after Nagasaki and the Soviets declaring war on Japan. I do have to say, it is also interesting to see how people take the news of the surrender. Some took it in stride and tried to go on with their business, and others may have really felt the rug pulled out from under them, the latter being the case with Suzu.
We were prepared for the worst. They said, fight to the last man. There's 5 of us here. Everything we've done slips away. Everything we've sacrificed. The reasons why we've endured it all. We surrender to violence. I wanted to die a daydreamer.
Even legendary filmmaker Akira Kurosawa noticed something similar when he was working in film studios during the war. In a Directors Guild of Japan interview with Nagisa Oshima, he stated,
今日おそらくこれで戦争終結するというあれだろうけど、天皇のあれあるから会社で撮影所に出てきてくれ。で祖師ヶ谷街道をね、ずっと歩いてきた魚屋の親父だとか八百屋の親父がね、みんなに本当抜いてこうやって見てるんだよ。なんかすござまじいんですよ。これ大変だな、これどうなるんだろうと。天皇がね、あれしてもこれはただで収まるかな。ただね、帰りに通ったらみんなニコニコしてるの。でも表履いて。その時日本人って随分フレキシビリティがあるだと思ったね。
I really do feel bad for those like Suzu, who may have felt that their sacrifices for the Empire went to waste. But like with all the other trials she went through, she, along with her in-laws and surviving family, will continue to live on, even during the occupation years and the many issues that come from that. As an adaptation of the manga, it is an incredibly faithful one. From the story to even maintaining Fumio Kono's art style, the movie is essentially a page-for-page screen translation. Now sometimes, I have a problem with adaptations like these. As someone who film is their favorite storytelling medium, I actually like to see what filmmakers do with the material rather than just simply produce the story on screen beat by beat. I suppose what I'm trying to say is that sometimes I like it when a director puts his own stamp on the material and makes a unique film version of the story. Now granted, this sort of thing works best with books and comics with only like one self-contained story with no accompanying lore. Novels or comics with larger stories and lore, there is more care that does need to be taken, There's a lot more to consider. But it's also not impossible for filmmakers to put their own stamp on things like these. I suppose it depends upon the material being adapted and if the story contained in them really does lend itself well to cinema. And thankfully, In This Corner of the World was perfect for cinema, as it is a manga and the visuals are, well, right on the page. As an animated film, it is a visual feast for the eyes, with environments recreating the period rather faithfully from what I can tell. Don't let the beautiful vibrant colors or Fumio Kono's somewhat adorable character designs fool you. The drama portrayed is as gut-wrenching as the comedy in it is genuine. The narrative isn't necessarily one that has a familiar structure we see so often in movies nowadays. It doesn't move fast, but it doesn't move slow either. It takes its time to highlight the hardships and even the joys that do come out of struggling on the homeland for the war effort. This is the kind of movie where there are no good guys or bad guys, just ordinary people just trying to make the best of whatever circumstances they're under. Nearly every character in the film are, to varying degrees, pretty relatable, and you want to see them succeed no matter what they are doing. Now obviously I'm using the English dub for this video, and it's serviceable, but the Japanese version is the way to go. Just superior voice acting all around. There's no getting around that. There are two versions of this film that exist. There's the theatrical version, which is widely available pretty much everywhere, and the extended cut called In This Corner and Other Corners of the World. Now, I'm going to call it In This Corner of the World Redux, and we'll be referring it as the Redux version just for the sake of simplicity. The Redux version was done because I guess the first one was successful enough to warrant another version. It was an edit where they animated about 10 or more scenes amounting to about 40 minutes of additional footage, bringing the runtime to 168 minutes, making it one of the longest animated films ever. I do have a copy of the film on Blu-ray, but for some reason I'm not able to get the footage off of it to show to you guys. My screen recording software just wasn't working, so the clips from the trailers will just have to suffice. The Redux version is even more faithful to the manga, especially with the addition of scenes with Rin Shiraki, who works in the pleasure quarters in Kure, who was only briefly touched upon in the theatrical cut.
Are you also from South Hiroshima? Near the ocean?
How did you...
Your accent.
Oh, are you from Eba?
From Kasatsu.
I ate watermelon at my grandma's every summer. I'll draw whatever you want.
Mint candy and warabi mochi.
Mint candy.
She becomes the friend that Suzu can confide in when she doesn't feel like she can talk to anyone else about what's troubling her. There are also other scenes, including the family weathering a typhoon, Suzu drawing a tropical beach for a sick girl, and others that I don't have the footage for. Is it better than the theatrical cut? I don't know if I can call the Redux version a better version, but I do prefer it. It fills in some of the spots of the theatrical cut that I always wondered about, especially when Suzu wanted Shusaku to check on Ren after one of the attacks when she's tired, but she hardly interacted with her in the theatrical cut, so unless you read the manga, you don't know why she would care about her. Or even why the house is damaged a bit at the end of the film. In the Redux edit, there's a tree that fell on the house during a typhoon. Those edits, along with additional character interactions, make it a more fulfilling experience for me. The Redux version is not available in English, so if you want to watch this edit, you'll have to buy the Blu-ray or DVD from Japan. Then read the manga so you can actually know what the additional scenes are about. Or, if you know Japanese, that won't be an issue. As I have gotten older, I have come to greatly appreciate films that are somewhat slower and more relaxed in its pace. Films that takes the time to give an audience a taste of the past, albeit through fictional characters. I've seen films like this through many countries, not just Japan, but In This Corner of the World, I think should be ranked among the best slice of life dramas, either in historical or contemporary contexts. This one is an overshadowed film that not a lot of people seem to talk about, and I don't really understand why. It's full of heart, heartache, charm, and more than its share of warmth. No matter which version you experience, you will experience a great film. I hope that this peek into it will convince you to watch it as soon as you can in whichever way you can.